No longer do we have an excuse saying that, oh, I'm talented, but I haven't got the opportunity.
Opportunity.
No, today, no artist, nobody who wants to be out there can have or say that they hadn't had the opportunity. You don't need a rich education. You don't need a prestigious family to belong to in the entertainment industry. You don't even need to have talent, to be very honest,
Yeah.
to have the access to put yourself out there, to be out there.
Hello, buddy. Welcome back to another episode. I'm back with Siddhant. So, a lot of you guys would know him from the serials or movies you would have watched him. Siddharth is an Indian actor, both in television and film. Thank you very, very much, Siddhant. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm really glad that we had a chance after a long time to speak about your work and all the things you do. And hope we have a conversation which is a bit fun and interesting at the end. But I just want to get a bit serious in the start and understand and get to know more about you. So thank you very much again for being here. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lakshit. Good to be here.
Yeah. So before beginning, why don't you take us through your work and what you do? That would be great.
What I work, well, I'm primarily an actor.
Mhm.
And what I do is still a quest that I'm on. I still haven't understood completely what I do. Acting is, as I'm realizing, only a part of it. Um, I recently had the opportunity to create a song on my own, and coming from absolutely no musical background ever, to be able to create a song is just opened up different levels within me that I'm still discovering what I can do. So it's a difficult question. I can't answer it just yet. Call me about in 20 years and maybe I'll be able to answer that question.
Yeah, really glad to hear that. So how we have seen I have not seen so much of your shows, but I know you because I've seen my grandmother and my some of the aunties watching your shows and all of that. I
Yeah, you're
I
not my target audience. Don't worry.
I admire. Yeah, I'm not at all your target audience,
Yeah.
but I admire your work. I really feel great, and how I have seen you once or twice on the television. I've seen, sometimes when you're
Look, Lakshit, let me take off the pressure. It's okay if you've not
yeah
watched my work. It's
yeah
absolutely fine. I don't even expect you to. So it's just you're not in my target audience. Even if you were and you didn't watch it, there's so much of content out there. There's so many actors, entertainers, singers constantly vying for your time,
yeah
right? So if I'm not able to manage to get your time, that's absolutely fine. But I will strive to. That's the work that I need to put in as an entertainer to make sure that
yeah
I reach a bigger audience.
yeah yeah. So how just like as you said, yeah, I'm not your target audience.
Hmm.
So what does how do you think you'll be able to, like, you're thinking of reaching to everyone, and as an actor, how you're trying to reach and make your work reach to everyone, like I show your acting and show your talent to everyone?
Doing podcasts with people like you,
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that.
YouTube, social media, the
Uh-huh.
new way to get yourself out there.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic time for artists,
Yeah.
for entertainers, for actors, for musicians to reach out there. No longer do we have an excuse saying that, oh, I'm talented, but I haven't got the opportunity.
Opportunity.
No, today, no artist, nobody who wants to be out there can have or say that they hadn't had the opportunity. You don't need a rich education. You don't need a prestigious family to belong to in the entertainment industry. You don't even need to have talent, to be very honest,
Yeah.
to have the access to put yourself out there, to be out there. And I think it's a great age that we are living in now, thanks to technology. So, to answer your question, um, you are not my target audience. You may have not ever seen my work. That's not your fault. That's my doing, right? So by doing this, by doing reaching out in whatever way I can to new group of people, to new mindsets, maybe they would hear of me. Maybe they'll agree or disagree with what I'm saying, and that might translate to, oh, they're walking by while the grandmother's watching a show or a movie, and they say, I know this guy. He spoke some amount of sense. Let's see him as an actor as well. So I think that's how I think, yeah, that's a good way to expand a new audience.
Yeah, and I think that's the right way to. And you rightly said that, Jesse, we have so much of social media and all of that. If you think you didn't get an opportunity, that was because you made excuses. You didn't try for it because you have so much of access and so much of things happening, and there are no restrictions to anything. You use phone. Almost everybody has phones, living the very small and back, small rural areas of India. But if you're living in a city and then you tell I didn't get an opportunity to be an actor or live my dream or show my art, then I think it's our ignorance or whatever we would say, excuse and all of that.
It's out of laziness
Yeah.
and complacency. And you said if you're in the city, I just want to correct you there, because just recently I saw a little video which went viral about these kids from uh, I forget which state, but they were within one state within India, rural, completely village type of thing, and they made this entire action movie
Mhm.
through their mobile phones.
Uh-huh.
And the only thing extra they've used is one kid who's got a slow-mo mode on his camera, right? And they've gone into this full action sequence, and every time there's a fall or a jump, they cut to this slow-mo shot, which looks brilliant. And they've literally reciprocated fight sequences from some of their most favorite movies and done it their style, and it's absolutely incredible. It is ingenious what they've done. I couldn't have made content that good. And these are just kids who about uh, between 8 or 10 of them had maybe a couple of phones,
Mhm.
right? And they created this wonderful cinema
Uh-huh.
at that young age.
Yeah.
So it's you don't need to be anywhere in the city or have a good Wi-Fi connection or any of that. If the will is there, the way will come.
Come. Yeah. Yeah. And then, so when you see that, when you see all of that happening, and so much of people coming out, and people from rural part of India and all of that doing, when you were saying about that, I saw you were feeling that enthusiasm. You were happy that they're doing such good thing. And so how do you think that people today who make excuses, how can they not make excuses and figure out that how they can use the power of social media and show their art or show their talent to the world out there? Yeah.
It's very easy for you and I to cite other people's examples to encourage somebody else who's lacking that
Yeah.
motivation, right? So even before I would say, oh, look at these village kids who are doing that, I would just ask them to really look deep inside them and ask them why they're making these excuses. If it is something they really love doing, genuinely love doing, and that's what they're pursuing, then they'd want to do it, right? If there is a block that's coming within them, themselves कि ये block क्यों आ रहा है? Because this is what you want to do. If it's not what you want to do and the block is there, then it's maybe time to find something else, because it has to be frictionless living, right? It's got to be something that you enjoy doing to the point that when you wake up, you don't even need a cup of coffee and you'll get to it. It's got to have that kind of excitement. And if it doesn't motivate you so much, then that's fair enough. You've just not found your thing yet. Or if you come to a space of constantly creating and then you hit a block, which happens a lot of times, and then that block is projected on other things which become excuses. Oh, I don't have the right equipment, or my friends aren't available right now, or this and that. And then the reasons and the excuses start to come in. So it's always a good time to kind of do a quick check-in within oneself and figure out, why am I making these things? If there are problems, then there's certainly solutions. I'm just not thinking hard enough of what the solutions are. Or maybe I'm not putting myself out there to ask for help, right? A lot of times we get stuck in our own egos, saying, no, dude, I'm an actor, put in 18 years to click good pictures. There would be photographers lined up, but there aren't any, unless I go asking, looking, unless I call Lakshit and say, hey man, can you click a few photographs? This Instagram thing is getting big. I need to get on it. So let's just come and click a few pictures of me. So I think that would be my first suggestion, and not say, oh, those guys can do it. Why aren't you doing it? There must be something more
Yeah.
going on within inside, which I'll ask them to put their focus on first.
Great. Yeah. So moving forward, just one question I just wanted to ask since the start, but we got into discussion and all of that. How did you find your way into acting? How did you think that I must give it a try? I must try to do something as such, try to be on television and all of that. How did you find your way there?
All right. So I'm going to try to give you different answers because I've been asked this question many a times, and I want to give our audience a new insight into my thinking. So can you please ask me that question again?
How did you find your way into the entertainment industry?
It started with the want to do, well, to be on the path of least resistance. It started on like, I don't want to work more days than I want off days in life. I want more holidays and work days. Yeah. Kisko itna kaam karna hai zindagi
Karne.
mein? And but I was always been a restless soul. I could sit at home and do nothing, but that nothing wouldn't carry on for long periods of time. I'll have a couple of days in, and then I'd want to do something. And that want to do something led me to being an MC at these malls. You have those guys with the mics who go on talking and yapping and do these games and get people interested in all. And it started with that as a source of pocket money. And that led to uh, being a model in advertising, which then led to a TV show, which then led to something else, which then led to something else. And consequently, as I kept doing it, because studies was something, academics was something that I always struggled with. And by the end of it, I was just done with it. But my parents' condition was that you at least be a graduate before you venture out and do something or do nothing. At least wo to kar le. तो वो करने के बाद and also another thing of I wanted to be financially self-sustained. So the confidence that I have of doing whatever without much thought came from the fact that at least I'm earning the money, right? It's very important to earn the money because that gives you a sense of self-confidence.
Yeah.
And that also kind of paves the way to where you're going to go. Right now, as somebody, not even just as artists, as entrepreneurs, as people in different professions, as just people, we really don't know where we are going. Opportunities today are so many.
Yeah.
Today, it is not a matter of survival anymore in the sense of I need a roof on my head and I need khana in my tummy. By now, most of us, at least the people who are watching this, have that as a sense of security. Right? In our country, if you're able to speak English, we can assume that your sense of basic necessities are taken care of. Right? So our generation is very lucky that we have that comfort which our parents and our forefathers have set for us. Right? But also with that comes in confusion because there are so many options.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the dynamics of that need to change. It's no longer what is your career going to be. I think the next question for somebody like me, for example, who's very uncertain of where they're going, is to ask myself, okay, in the next 5 years, where do I see myself? Right? What do I see myself doing? Invest all of whatever I can do. At least 5 years gives me a lot clearer idea of where I want to go as opposed to 20 years.
20 years.
Right?
Yeah.
So taking that 5-minute, the 5-year capsule as my, okay, the next 5 years gives me the liberty to be flexible, also to change it to something which naturally happens to me later. Right? And this is how I found myself to be an actor. And now going beyond acting and doing other things as well. And not being constrained within that one label. If I called myself an actor and I'll only be an actor, that's great. I would be a good actor, but I would not have explored the other dimensions of theater, the other dimensions of music, and many other things which are still to come my way.
Great. Yeah. I think, yes. And that's really
My answers
glad.
are really long, no?
Yeah, no, it's not long. It's very they're wonderful, but it takes you very deep and makes you think about a lot of things. So yeah, I'm really glad that you're taking us that in and deep to that. The next question I would like to put on you is: what do you think should acting?
So just talk a cue off that to everyone listening in now. I will encourage myself and Lakshit also here to get as deep as we can, get as vulnerable and honest, because this is a medium for that. So if y'all are in the mood for listening to deep, honest stuff, stay tuned. If you're not, go to one of the recommended. No, don't go to the recommended videos. Stay on. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
good.
stay on. Yeah, yeah. So just some more serious questions, and then we get into the real discussion about everything happening with you and all of that. Do you think acting is a talent, or do you think acting could be gained through training? What's your thought on that?
Okay, let's get down to definitions. Okay, let's clarify certain things. How do you define talent?
Me?
Yes, Lakshit, you.
Yeah.
How do you define talent?
So I would define talent. I think for me, anything is a talent. If you're able to, uh, if you can cook a food, it's a talent. If you can maybe fly a kite, it's a talent. So anything for me is a talent, but it must be natural, or it comes to you by you learning from here and there, and or maybe seeing people or observing people. For me, speaking came by, I think, by learning English betterly from different people and seeing and observing them speak. That's what I got, speaking English properly. So that's the way I got it, by observing and listening and seeing. So that's the way I would define talent, as learning from seeing people or listening people. Yeah.
Right. Now, here's what's very interesting. Now, for me, how do I define talent? I define it as a set of skill set that one has, which one can perform as effortlessly as possible. Right? That's how I define it. Now, where you were coming from with your definition of talent was very different from where I was coming from for my
Yeah.
definition of talent.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one thing which is a good insight for everyone who's listening in. You know, the definitions of certain things are so different because of our growing ups and perceptions and everything, that it's important to clarify to get everybody on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
So now when you ask me that question, you're understanding better where I'm coming from when I define talent. Right. So talent, coming back, is a set of skills that one has that one can do as effortlessly as possible, which is why I would say, wow, great talent, right? But at the same time, it's merged in that skill set needs training. The effortlessness that shows or comes out needs practice, right? So for me, that question is both intertwined because it's not one or the other. They're both the same. To give a more broader aspect, if I have to differentiate or natural acting and trained acting, right, is what I think you're trying to come to me towards with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say still training, always training, because I came in absolutely with no talent in acting. I put in the work, I put in the training, and I'm somewhat a good actor now, right? And that helps people who don't have talent, and people who are talented and still train more explode even more,
Yeah.
right? So it's a win-win for those who are talented to train and those who are not talented to also train, because you'll end up always doing something good. That's where the training comes in. That's why you should train.
Yeah.
You should train for everything.
Great, and I think that's a very different way we see and hear things about. But I think a very interesting perspective you put up here about training and talent, and together of that. So how do you find yourself? Do you what if it not acting? What else would you think you would have done? What else does interest you more than acting?
Right now,
Yeah.
right now it is to ride the world on my motorcycle, to document those experiences on the saddle which I have about people and places, and to share that with the world. That is, I think, what I would want to also be doing. And slowly I'm getting there, doing that, getting there. So now's all the prep work that's taking place. But one day I will be riding across the world and documenting those travels and sharing my experiences with young minds like yourself.
Yeah. Glad to hear that. So moving to some fun and serious questions altogether mixed up with that. Like, I have been a speaker and advocate of mental health, speaking and asking everyone, all of their professions, how things happen and how mental health is being affected and all of that. I just want to get your perspective. I just want to know from you that, being an actor, being somebody who's been in industry, I think, I remember you from the Raja Rani show. I'm not really sure about the name of the show, but I've seen you there, and I think it was a very long time ago. So since then, I think things have changed. COVID has changed lifestyles. A lot of things have happened in your life also, because when I was going through your work and all of that, there was a lot of different media articles and all of that. So I just want to know ki, how is your mental health affected, and how does being a actor, being an artist, what how toll does it take on your mental health?
I think irrespective if you're an artist or anybody, mental health is something which is existing for everybody.
Yeah.
It is like health, like a headache, like a flu. You will also suffer from depression. You will also suffer from anxiety. You'll suffer from many things. Everybody goes through it. It's nothing only a few people experience or share. And I think, it's so funny because it again comes back to that fact that we are privileged, that we don't have to fight to survive for where our next meal is coming from, right? And that therefore brings in time to think, gives in luxury to indulge oneself in, वो बोलते हैं ना, empty hands, what is that? Empty hands is the devil's workshop.
Empty mind is a devil's workshop.
Empty mind is a devil's workshop, right? It's so true, right? Because if, this is something which a very close friend of mine, and she's also a coach, a life coach. She told me once, when I was going through a lot of drama in my life, I had this little knight in shining armor syndrome. I'd want to go and save everybody, and especially I'd want to go save the people who didn't want to be saved, just so I can give my life greater meaning.
Yeah.
And she very correctly told me, she said, Siddhant, tu aise kar, tu ghar kharid le. Right? And I was like stunned. I said, what do you mean? I'm going through so much. My emotional thing is like, look, moment you buy a house, especially in Bombay, and you have to start paying the EMIs, right? And you have to figure out that portion of it, automatically all this drama in your life and everything which you are inducing onto yourself, right? That will go away, right? So that was a great insight for me, for the self-inflicting drama that we put ourselves in through. That's one part of it. The other part of it is the natural depressions which you go through without doing much, for whatever reasons might be. Everybody will go through it, right? I think us talking about it and normalizing it needs to be a fundamental thing, because today, I think it's lightened out today, at least in the circles that I go around in. Having a therapist, having somebody to talk to, a professional that you go to as advice, is now being seen as, oh, that's normal.
Yeah.
It's not like, I remember 10 years ago when I used to go to a professional for seeking help, mental health, I used to feel a little shy. I wouldn't admit to a stranger or an acquaintance that I'd come back from a session. I'd say I have a doctor's appointment. That was accepted. It's accepted by people. Oh, you had a doctor's appointment? Okay, I understand. Oh, you went to see a therapist? Oh. But only crazy people go to see therapists.
Yeah.
That was a sensibility that we were coming from, and that is largely still there.
Yeah.
Also people don't feel the need, why am I spending so much money on a therapist? I'll go to a friend. I got my parents.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes some things, they are not professionals. In fact, the advice that they will give you would be conditioned from their own baggage where they're coming from and might not work for you. Right? So if you can afford it, always go to a professional for mental health. I have always observed that's a great thing. But also give that importance to mental health as you give to your physical health. It is exactly in the same category, if not more.
Yeah.
So recognizing and talking about mental health is the first step towards mental health being accepted and mental health and solving issues of mental health, right? Sorry, I deviated from your question, but I hope that gives some
Yeah, I
understanding of
think
where I'm coming
it
from.
totally does, and I think we see that whole stigma thing even today and how people see it. I didn't even knew what's mental health and all of that. Maybe see it you 2 years ago. I just got to know about it last year when I started doing all the shows and all of that, and then had people speaking about it. And then, like, of course, I knew there's something called mental health, but not that deep, and why and how it can change your life and all of that. So it's I think
Yeah,
it's no
but it's very
need to.
important. I'll
Yeah,
tell you, here's the positive. Here's the positive too. There's a positive in everything, right? That's what I'm so convinced about. It's just your attitude towards it.
yeah.
What is the positive towards depression, right? We hear about depression. He's depressed. She's depressed. Yes, it's a bad thing. But you know what the positive to it is? When you're depressed, you don't have the energy, the inclination to do anything, right? You sit or you lie there like a log, right? Just completely out. It's actually your body's way of telling you that there is something wrong. Most of the time, it's your body's way of telling you that the current lifestyle that you're living
Mhm.
is not good for your body in the overall scheme of things.
Yeah.
It's like falling sick, right? When you have fever going because you've really pushed yourself and your body to the point where the fever comes in, and then you say, bukhar hai, so you go rest, you take 3 days off, you then get back better, right? That's your physically your body is telling you, ki, bro, take a back seat, take a chill pill, you need to rest. Similarly, depression is also that form, the body telling you, hold on, there is something fundamentally going wrong with your lifestyle that you're choosing to ignore. The
Mm.
depression comes in, and that is an indication that, okay, I'm depressed. Okay, I'm depressed. It's my body, it's my mind, it's my soul's way of saying that there's something not right. So give it that the time and the attention then it's needed, because we are so focused in this rat race going forward, 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 that we forget to stand still sometimes. And
Mm.
depression is that mark, of our mind telling us that, hold on,
Hold on.
recalculate where you're going.
Go on. Yeah, I think that's right. He said, and it makes you think that maybe something is wrong, and you must again see it and all of that. Um, so moving forward, I think I just wanted to talk to you about media and how all of that thing, because when you have these paparazzis and all of them, I have no interest in Bollywood and all of that. Nothing to spend time on all of them, but just want to know, key when you see when you on life, it's happening, something is going wrong, and when you have media channels and these journalists writing a lot of different things, a lot of different opinions, and a lot of things on you. One of the thing was when you separated from your ex-wife, and then uh, you had so many articles on internet, and of course there are many of them when they lie and they have some uh, stories made by themselves and all of that. How does that feel to see yourself in a negative form, and why do you think media should maybe do you think that should media get uh, better and not try to peek into somebody's life when they're going already into so much of pain and all of that?
Okay, firstly, thank you for treading so sensitively on a topic like this. You've done well in trying to be sensitive and nice about it, because it is a personal question.
Yeah.
And I look forward to answering it. See, first, I don't have control in the media. I don't have control over others. I don't have control over anything else. What I have a control about is on me, right? So I first go back to me and I said, look, this is the job. The job comes with this.
This.
There are no, I cannot expect the fame and not the tabloid thing to come in. It
Yeah.
just will not work. If the tabloid thing is going to be such a bother, then pick a profession where there is no fame involved,
Hmm.
right? It is that simple. I have to accept the yin and yang of things. Now, keeping that in mind, therefore, what happens once I accept this, then the negative backlash doesn't bother me so much. In fact, I start joking about it. I remember when I got separated and divorced also, it was, I'd done about 15 years of acting then,
Mhm.
right? 15 years of acting in a career along with a marriage did not get me front page in on the Bombay Times as my divorce did.
Did.
It's a great thing to think about. What It's not about Times of India. It's not about that journalist. It's not about what people want to read. It's just that's the way it is, right? And I muse about it, right? Because I can certainly choose to take offense in saying कि 16 साल मैंने काम किया, इतना कुछ किया है, कभी मेरे इतने सारे shows किए, I've done so many movies and everything, theater performances, proud performance. That never got a front page in a leading newspaper. But my divorce, which frankly people should be respectful for and not get into, that got me front page viewing. you know. But that is just how it is. It comes with the job. So people like me who are in the spotlight have to accept that this is how it is. And if you don't want it, you have a choice to not do it. But
Good.
you can't have one and not expect the other.
I think you gave me again something to think about, and something very different than I expected and all of that. Um, so, but does it feel bad when you see, does people's behavior towards how they treat you, does it change when such thing happens, when the media covers you uh, very extensively and write weird things, and a lot of things are false sometimes, a lot of things they just create stories which, because they want to sell they want TRP, they want to sell their papers, they want to say more views on their channel, so they would
Right.
go to any extent, and there is no regulation in India. So because if that happens, then people would call it that the government is controlling the media. Of course, some extent that's there and all of that, but there is nothing regulation happening and all of that, so nobody can even file and charge them for anything, because media has the power to do anything, right? So how does the behavior change, and how do you feel about that? Yeah.
I think it was Mahatma Gandhi who said it takes a lifetime to make a good name and only a second to lose your name,
Yeah.
right?
Huh.
And unfortunately, media and rumors have that power to give it that 1 second of bad fame to ruin one's entire lifetime's work.
Yeah.
But that is the nature of it. That's just the kind of people that there are out there, and I wouldn't say the kind of people that are out there. I too am guilty of reading about somebody's personal problem in a Bombay Times rather than choosing to read an autobiography by Charlie Chaplin. It is true. I can't be a hypocrite about it as well. I've read those same tabloids of others. I've also said, oh, are. That's, and now when I'm in it, why am I now denying that
Yeah.
I then that's being a hypocrite. That's wrong then,
Yeah.
right? So of course it's you got to take it with a pinch of salt, yeah. And then also time. What I've realized with these things, never have a knee-jerk reaction to things, right? Because that is what the people who are writing these rumors or fabricating certain untruths about you are looking for. That is the intention, so that they can egg you on to get an explosive reaction, which will then lead to a better, bigger follow-up article, right? So to those who are in this thing, my fellow colleagues who I would like to share this little advice with is, don't have a knee-jerk reaction. Take your time, process it. And then if you want to, in fact, the best answer to these things is complete ignorance. Don't give it any thought, don't give it any space, don't give it any response. And automatically it will die down. But if you fuel it in any way, then it'll just get bigger, 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 bigger.
Yeah.
So if you can, and it really takes a lot of maturity, of understanding, of support from your friends, from your family, to not react. So I think that is when friends and family are the most important in times like this, when fabricated news are made, and who do you really care about, right? Do I care about what my close friends and family think think, or do I care about what that one boy in Jharkhand or one girl in Chennai is reading about me, who I'll never face and will forget about me the next day when the new article comes,
Comes up.
right? We start thinking, oh, my audience, there, all those people will start thinking, are they've got 100 other things to think about. They'll read it. It is disposable crap for them, right? It's like that bubble gum. They'll chew till the sugar and that sweetness is there in their mouth. They'll have you. They'll think of you. When it's over, they'll throw you out and then pick up a new chewing gum. So I don't give myself so much of self-importance also. And then automatically what happens is pressure comes off. And to those who it matters to me, those are my friends and family, and they will call me immediately and ask or be there for me, and they'll know the truth.
Yeah.
So I think don't take things so seriously and give it time before reacting.
Great. Really happy to hear that perspective and that point of view and how you think about that. And so some more questions, 1-2 questions I would like to ask you and put up here is, what do you think? What would be your advice to people in the industry, people who wish to create and achieve and be an actor? Of course, not everybody has support. Not everybody is able to find a right place and all of that. How do you think? What kind of things helped you out, or would you like to share with them, or what other thing would you like to tell to them? Yeah.
It's not an easy career. If it was an easy career, everybody will be doing it.
Yeah.
Everybody will be good at it if it was easy. There's a reason why the top people are only a handful from the billion plus population that we have, out of which 500 million wants to be an actor, not a cricketer or something else, right? It is how it is. So if they're going to become an actor or an artist or a musician or anything, first figure out why is it that you want to do it. Is it the fame that you're chasing? Is it the glamour that is good for you? Is it the lifestyle that you're chasing? Or is it just the love of the art form that you're chasing? Right? So when you're starting off, truly stand in front of the mirror. Nobody needs to listen to these answers but yourself. Ask these questions to yourself. Why is it that I want to do this? Right? And be as authentic. If it is the money which entices you, fair enough. Good. There's nothing wrong with it. If it is the glamour that entices you, great. At least you have clarity. Okay, this is the reason that I want to do it. As opposed to, I want to be an actor. Why? Because I want to be fame. I want to have those sports cars. I want to have this. Right? Therefore, I need to be an actor. But then when they start pursuing their acting and they don't get all those other things, then that disappoints them even more.
Yeah.
So you'd rather realign yourself. Okay, I want the money, I want the supercars, I want the big mansion, I want the pretty partner, right? To get those things, that's my primary focus, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. If that is my primary focus, let us do something which I'm naturally inclined to, right? Maybe I'm very uncomfortable in front of the camera, but I like data. So let me get into data analysis. Oh, this Bitcoin is something new. Let me invest something, and boom, I'm a Bitcoin billionaire. And I've got all those other things. And I'm passionate and I'm happy, instead of being a actor who's depressed because he's not getting work, he's not getting money, he's not getting that pretty wife, he's not getting those supercars, and then it just goes in a spiral. So to artists, I would say, take a good long deep breath. Have that good conversation with the self. Understand what is it that you really want to do. And then go all out for it.
Yeah, wonderful. Really happy to hear that. And thank you very much for sharing that advice with me. And just 5 fun questions I would like to ask you. Is what do you do in your fun time, like spare time, and when you're not working or doing anything?
I ride motorcycling. I ride. I get out in nature. I play sports. I hang out with friends. I have tried to make stimulating conversations with people who I don't know. Not don't know, but people who I look up to. Very important in your free time to surround yourself in positive energy, to surround yourself with people who have established themselves in the path that you want to be in, and just have a good casual conversation with them. People love to talk, especially people who are successful, love to talk. In this entire interview between you and me, right? Why am I doing this? Because I want to share my experience with you.
Yeah.
There is a certain sense of, I wouldn't say ego, which says whatnot, but just a sense of, look, giving it back. That's where I've come from. I've heard all that I'm saying to you right now is not new things that have come from me. These are fragments that I've got from others.
Others.
And I genuinely feel if I don't share this, I won't be able to get more. Right?
Yeah.
In the same manner, in the time that you have free, just speak to people who've done good or well in life according to your definition.
Mm.
Right? And most of the time, they'll be happy to sit over a cup of coffee and tell you about them, how they got their journeys. And then suddenly it becomes a lot more attainable.
Yeah.
Those dreams then feel. I've dreamt about riding the world on my motorcycle. I speak to world tourers. I contact them. I wish them. I speak to them. Then that becomes more of a reality to me than just a dream. I'm that much closer. I've invested in that kind of gear. And slowly that dream starts to manifest itself physically, which then turns into a reality.
Mm.
And that wouldn't happen if I just sat and dreamt. It happened because I made those conversations, did that little step forward.
Great. And what would you if you by any chance you would have failed at acting when you started doing it, or doing any entering into the career of the being an actor and all of that, if you would have failed, what would you have done then acting?
Lakshit, your voice is cracking. I
Oh,
think let's just
again.
wait for the end and re-ask me the question.
Yeah, so my question to you was ki, if not acting, what would you like, agar you started acting and you didn't achieve what you wanted to do, then what would you have done leaving the acting thing part of it? Yeah.
Before we got interrupted with the reception, you'd asked the same question, framing it differently as to, had you failed in acting, what you would have done, right? That is what the question was.
Like,
And here's the thing. No,
go ahead.
don't worry, you didn't ask anything wrong. I just want to catch on that point because it's a good point you made. I continue to fail in acting. It's not that I've passed. That pass happens sometimes, but most of the time I fail. So to answer your question of if I failed in acting, what would I do? My answer to you is I constantly fail in acting. And what I do is get back to it. Failure is such a good thing. It's just got a bad rap. Failure is a way that I've understood, okay, this is my limit, right? If I want to grow out of my limit, I first need to know, boss, what is my limit? And failure is an indicator of that. It's not a wrong thing. It's not a bad thing. The amount of failures that one has in life is far more than the amount of successes. And that again is the nature of it. Because if success was so easy, everyone would be successful, right? But it's not true. And how do you get successful? By constantly failing and persevering. So, man, failure is a great thing. I just think it's been given such a bad rap. And I don't mean to plug it in, but I did a TED talk on this also called How Failure is Awesome. And instead of, talking it about it, I'd encourage you all to go and watch it over there. Also, I did another TED talk called The Life of a Motorcycle Monk, where I talk about my entire acting journey. So I don't want to get into what I've spoken about there. Just go watch it over there if you have the time. But I've expressed a lot about this thing about failure being an underrated thing, a very looked down upon thing, but it's actually not. It's a wonderful thing. We just need to embrace it. And not just us who fail, but the people around us who see somebody fail, they also need to know how to treat failure. And it's exactly like success. You just help the person out, you cheer them on, and they'll find their way. But again, coming back to your question, not failure, but if there was an alternate career, right? Is that what you're asking? If
Yeah,
acting did
so I
not
mean,
for some
when you
reason work out, or I
started
lost the
out,
passion?
agar, as you said, you wanted to do riding. Now, as I asked you, if you're not acting, you said I would be interested to ride all over the world on my
Yeah,
bike, right? So if you would have
yeah,
failed then, like when you started out in very maybe
yeah,
say 20, 25 years ago, if you would have failed then, what would
yeah.
you be doing? Like, I mean, what would you have done then acting?
I would have been an army officer. I would have joined the Indian Army, like my
Uh-huh,
father and my
uh-huh.
grandfather, and I would have
Okay.
been an army officer.
Okay, great, great. So, as you got the point of an army officer, and so how what do you say? When you are a, we have seen these stories and all of that. That your parents are very strict when you're in army and all of that, and all of those things, right? So, how was your childhood being in an army family?
It was the most brilliant childhood any child can ask for.
Uh-huh.
I see, now that I'm a civilian and I'm on the other side, I see kids growing up in cities today. And I kid you not, the kind of upbringing that and the childhood that we had and continue to have for defense children is absolutely amazing. The recreational facilities, the safety net, um, the community living that is there, the trust that is born, and the exposure that we have, it is incredible for a child to grow up within the army and have those things going. Can you hear me? Because I can't hear you. Am I still there?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. 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 And therefore, I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything. And I've had the best of both worlds. So I had a child as I was a child as I experienced what the army life is going to be, and as now a civilian, I'm understanding what the other part of the world is going to be. And I really wish the government came up with a ruling like they have in Singapore that every citizen needs to put 2 years of service in the army. I think we as a lot would be a lot better off because of it.
Okay, great. And yeah, so there are a lot of debates about this also. I have yeah, so we'll have a discussion about it maybe sometime later, and all of that. But next question would be like, who was your inspiration? Who's your inspiration now? And who was your inspiration then? Like, is your inspiration the same or have it changed? Okay.
Sorry, could you repeat that? The
Yeah,
network
so
was
oh, I'm
lost.
really sorry about the network. I'm not sure what's happening. So my question to you is, ki, who's your inspiration? Like, is your inspiration the same when you started out and till today, or have it changed?
I think inspirations change as I change. Because when I change, what inspires me changes. And therefore, inspiration will change as well. So when I look back, I don't have one figure apart from, my parents who've always been a constant. But in that sense of, oh, to be an actor, Amir Khan was my inspiration and all that, it doesn't, no, I don't have that because I'm changing. And as I change, my inspirations keep changing. Um, but currently, and for the longest time, my inspiration for acting and where I want to take my work to has been Meryl Streep. And she just continues to be a beacon of just wow and
Yeah.
amazement for me.
Okay, great.
More than Al Pacino, more than Robert De Niro, it is Meryl Streep. That. Oh. For me, acting is about being versatile, right? It's not about the intensity as much as it is being versatile with it. It's not even as much like there's a debate about Daniel Day-Lewis being the best actor, right? And so this is a conversation I was having with a friend of mine, and I was talking about my life and everything, and the kind of actor I want to be. And I was getting into a new form of acting, new method acting, which takes a lot out of me as Siddhant and puts into the character that I'm playing and building, to the point that it is very detrimental to Siddhant. right? To the point that it's very detrimental to the family that Siddhant has, because he comes back home with all that character in his head. And that translates to a bad life at home, right? Because they've got their own shit happening. They don't want a guy who's coming in being that character. Um, so I commend people who are able to switch it off and do more. Like Daniel Day-Lewis, fantastic acting, but he gets so much into it that it really affects his mental health and stability, and he needs to take time off to come back to zero, right? And that vibes with a lot of people. Personally, that doesn't resonate with me. I want to come back to a balanced life. Come back home so that that whoever is family at home at that time is not coming back to a psycho. And Meryl Streep, for some reason, has been able to be so versatile and also kind of keep a very low profile at home. You don't hear much about controversies about Meryl Streep, right? Or how she lost it, or she's in rehab or something, and yet she's able to produce some fantastic work. So I think in that aspect of things, she's my inspiration.
Great. So, last question to you, Siddhant, is what would be your message to people watching this, hearing this? What would you like to tell them?
Thank you for listening for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, people's time. Yeah, today time is such a big commodity that people give you even a listen. I feel very grateful for their time. So that's the first thing. Jokes apart, that I want to thank them for giving us their time and listening in to so much of what we have to share with our life and experiences, and hope that in one way or the other it helps. And what I would ask them to do out of my own experience, what has helped me is by doing more. There's this famous YouTuber called Casey Neistat, and he says, "Do more." And there is so much of wisdom in that, right? Because uh, this life is very small in the overall scheme of things. How long you're here on this earth is very small, and that a quantity of time is lost in a lot of procrastination, in a lot of overthinking. But the activity and the exercise of doing more kind of qualifies, kind of not qualify, brings quality to the little time that you have there. And the more time that you spend doing something that you do not like doing or hate doing is even more constructive, because the amount of time you spend doing something you hate doing makes you realize what you actually want to do.
Yeah.
That's a great insight for me, because especially when you're growing up. And how old are you now, Lakshit?
I'm 17.
You're 17. Wow, that's so young. 17 till 22, 23. I had absolutely no idea. You seem like a very focused young mind and kid,
Thank you.
young adult, but um, I was completely clueless, right? And I didn't know what I wanted to do. But the exercise of doing something which I hated doing gave me more insights than sitting at home and thinking about what I want to do. You know, so, and then in the overall scheme of things, you have more experiences about life. And for me, at least, I found out, and this is something I want to share. I went on a solo ride across India on my motorcycle as soon as I bought it back in 2019. December, Jan. I went to the north, south, east, and west of India and rode alone for 35 days door to door. And one of the objectives of that time was that I wanted to come back with the meaning of my life,
Mm.
right? What is the meaning of my life? And not just what it is, but bring it down to one sentence to have clarity in it. And when I came back, for me, and this was the last leg when I was coming from Kolhapur to Bombay. And in that last leg, it came to me. And it was, the meaning of my life is to have as many experiences as possible.
Mm.
I was able to bring it down to that one sentence. Once I had this one sentence, then I looked back from it. And every challenge and obstacle that I face today, any decision that I need to make today, I have that as my go-to point. Because when I'm 60 or whatever, in my last few years of life or last few breaths that I have, I will think back, and all that I can carry with me are those experiences. Not money, not wealth, not relationships, not property. but that experience is. So spend time in understanding what is the meaning of life for you into a sentence, and then work backwards. That will really help. That helped me in life, and I hope it will help everybody who's listening.
Oh, yeah, I think I have learned a lot of things today, a lot of fresh perspectives, different way we see life and all of that. And thank you very much for being here, Siddhant. Thank you very much for giving your time out. I think it has been a conversation of more than an hour. You constantly be there, telling something new, keeping a different perspective, and trying to say something and teach something new. Thank you very, very much for being here. I really mean that you were wonderful. You made me enjoy this episode. Thank you very, very much for taking me deep. Thank you very, very much again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lakshit. Take care, buddy.
My pleasure. Thank you.